Okay, I just want to do another video about the Earth being divided because I get quite a bit of flack for it from my fellow young Earth creationists that they mostly believe that the Earth broke apart during or before the global flood. There's two different models of that. And yet, I believe that I have a lot more evidence to show that it broke up 100 years after the global flood, like the Bible says the earth was divided. Okay, and of course, I've been thinking about this for 40 some years. I just didn't just think about it just now. Shalom, Jesus is Lord. How you doing? But check this out. We have between Africa and South America, we have a lot of the same animals on both sides in South America and Africa, as if they just broke apart and they got separated because they they look so similar and yet they're living on two different continents that used to be together. So let me just go through this real quick by way of review if you haven't seen it. We have this animal here is called the greater grison. There's other similar animals to it. But this is very much like the African honey badger, which looks like that. African honey badger, greater grison. Then we have the South American jaguar, and we have the African leopard. Notice how similar the spots are. It's really the same animal on two different continents that got split up and separated. And it's really the same animal. We got camels in Africa over here, and we have camels in South America over here. They think it crossed all the way over here. There's no evidence of going through here, but that's what they think. But it's easier explained that it just went from Africa to South America right here. Boom. Okay. Because they were joined together. You got the llama, guanaco, vacuna, and alpaca. There's a difference between the wild camels and the domesticated South American camels, which are the vicuña, the guanaco, alpaca, and llama. Okay. We also have these intriguing animals over here. I mean, this is building up to quite a lot of animals, at least 5 easily identified animals that are both found in Africa and South America. We have the aardvark. This is American over here, American aardvark. And, well, South American, American, South American. It's actually located in South America, Bolivia, Brazil, and Paraguay. But it's also found in Africa. Okay. Exact same animal. It's called the African ant bear in Africa. Besides that, we have an African anteater too. And just so there's no doubt, this is an African anteater in Africa with the African termite hills. See that? And it's an African anteater in Africa, the same as what we have in South America. South America, we have these anteaters here, very common in South America as well, but they're South American anteaters. Okay, moving right along. DNA. Of course, the people in Africa never made it to South America because it broke apart 100 years after the global flood, so they never made it to South America. Lifespans were cut in half by the global flood. We know that already. Oh, over here. We know that already. Cut in half. In the days of Peleg, they were cut in half a second time, the lifespan. So it was cut in half from 1,000 to 500 years, from 500 years to 250 years, less. And then it just kept going down just like it shows up here. 1,000 years, boom. 500 years, boom. 250 years, less. It just kept going down. Okay, so we have all these animals. We also have an interesting animal. We got rabbits. Of course, rabbits you could say, well, maybe they jumped on a boat and escaped and everything else. But then you have this creature here. This is the funniest looking rabbit I ever seen. Oh, this is like way. I don't know if I can find it real quick. Of course, we got armadillo. Armadillo is probably another one that's both in Africa and South America too. And there's different kinds of armadillos too. Anyways, it's around here, this rabbit, a funny looking rabbit. Just gotta look at the rabbit. Panther, leopard, jaguar, cheetah, puma. Of course, there's different kinds of cats too. In South America, you have different rodents, capybara, cuchilla. This is a capybara. There's a rabbit. It's a funny looking rabbit if I ever saw one. It kind of hops around. But anyways, it's unique to South America. Okay, so I just want to rub this in really good because the evidence is on the side of the breakup of the continents 100 years after the global flood, right here. Because this is glacial markings on top of the sediments deposited by the global flood. Striations, I can thank James Downard for telling me about this. Striations in India, glacial markings going from south to north. Same thing in South America and Africa and Australia. This is before the break of when they were all together here in the South Pole. Before the breakup of the continents 100 years after the global flood. And then India moved from about here, this northern tip of Africa here, over to here. And it still has the glacial markings going from south to north, proving that it was all the way down here near the South Pole, along with Africa, with the glacial markings, proving that it broke up after the global flood because these glacial deposits formed after the global flood, on top of the sediments deposited by the global flood. So that pretty much seals the deal with the breakup of the continents after the global flood. I just want to rub it in. Here we have the mid-Atlantic ridge where you can see the separation. Of course, this ocean floor is newer than the Pacific Ocean floor. It's a newer event. Not that much newer, but it's newer. Notice how this used to be connected, South America to Antarctic, where it was connected, it broke through. Brazil, the highlands of Brazil were connected up over here with these highlands over here of Africa. Of course, some of this pressure pushed up the Appalachian Mountains. You can see that on other maps, and the highlands of Brazil and such. But there we go. This is another animal that I don't want to do a close up on because it's kind of ugly. But we have them. You know, it's kind of mystery how it got to South America. People don't know. They try to make up stories and stuff. Maybe it's brought over there. But anyways, we have possums or opossum. They like to call them different things in North America and South America. The ones in South America are even more ugly than this. The only ones that don't look nearly as ugly would be, what is this, same thing? The ones from Australia. These are the Australian possums that are not quite as ugly as the American possums. But they're marsupial, same kind of thing. And but they probably made it to South America by way of this thing. And there's other fossil evidence showing that these areas were all connected too. But that's about it, I suppose. I just want to, make sure that people understand that there's a lot of evidence on the side of what the Bible actually says, that the earth was divided. Notice the earth was divided in the days of Peleg. Lifespans were cut in half a second time. We don't have any duck-billed platypuses in South America. You're nothing if not gracious in victory. Yeah. Where's the ice wall? That's Antarctica. Antarctica is the ice wall. Rabbits can breed with anything. If they can't interbreed with each other, then they are not the same animal. Yeah, jaguars are the same thing as leopards because they interbreed no problem. I can't wait for the kangaroos and koalas. Shalom, Jill. Okay, so that's about it. I just want to make sure people understand that all the evidence is on my side about the breakup of the continents after the global flood, and that explains very well why the sons, descendants of Ham, did not make it to South America and the animals did. Because the animals, as soon as they got off the ark, they had 100 years to reach South America, and they did. All those animals that you saw, but the people never made it that far because once they started moving 100 years after the global flood, the earth had already broken apart. That's why they only made it this far, the A, B's, and the E's. And anybody in the Americas had to go the other way, including the C, the Q, and whatever else is. There's even an R. Had to go the other way, except the R might have come from this way over here. But the R and the Q is really the same thing anyways, except this is European Japhethite and this is Asian Japhethite. But it's Q and R are close together. It's really the same thing. And so that means the Asians and the Europeans are very similar in body structure and race. And they're the ones that have the Neanderthal DNA too as well. So DNA doesn't lie. The evidence doesn't lie. Exactly what the Bible says, the earth was divided, is what happened, and the evidence supports it very, very well. Thank you. Thank you very much. If I can find my barnyard here. Thanks, JJ. You always win. Later. Yeah, I try. I have to admit I try.